This is a story about a very British drug addict. I'm making this video in the hopes that I might be able to get some of these issues out of my mind and possibly in the process start to move on from some of them. I'm not a role model and I am genuinely very lucky to still be alive. I grew up in the most generic and boring town in the UK. We rode our bikes in the summer and failed to do tricks at the skate park. Grew a bit older, started to steal tinnies from Tesco and down bottles of Asda Smart Price rum at the Wreck. A pretty affluent town, we're all sons of doctors, lawyers, engineers, and so the done thing at the age of 18 is to go off and experience the world, have a gap year, had to go travelling and gain some culture. The idea was to drink lots, party lots, fuck loads of bitches and just get wasted, you know. And so it was that I, a bit of a weirdo by my peers' norms, decided that I was going to go off and do this, explore the world for myself. So I arrived in New Zealand, I drank lots, I started smoking cigarettes. For some reason I tried salvia on a beach. It's my first ever sort of real hard drug. And things were fun, I had a pretty good time, everything was awesome. And then in Australia, I found weed, tried cannabis for the first time. I was sat with my feet in the lagoon in Brisbane, staring up at the moon and just watching as it smiled at me, pondering upon how it was raining this fantastic glitter dust down upon the world. It was absolute love at first hope. Anyway, I did some other stuff while I was travelling. The journey was fine, it was enjoyable, but I did have some difficulties, as I say, because I was so kind of weird. And when I arrived back in the UK, all I really thought about by the very second day was, gosh, I needed to pick up. I just needed to have another blaze. You see, I've kind of always been a little bit fucked up. I've been dealing with suicidal thoughts since I was about 8 years old, I guess, and that caused some pretty major insomnia. By this point in my life, I just hadn't slept well for about 8 years, and those nights in Australia, after trying cannabis, I slept, I felt good, I didn't think about killing myself. The first time in so goddamn long. And so when I got back to the UK, I knew straight away I needed that experience again. I needed to feel that way again. Now, as chance would have it, some of my friends had started smoking during the 3 months I'd been away, and so we immediately started hanging out every single day. And of course, this is back in the times when a gram would last about 3 of us an entire week. We were hiding away at the skate park and, you know, hiding away in our parents' back gardens, making bongs out of beer cans and using tin foil to make pipes. Well, once we even tried making a pipe out of an apple core. We did everything. We were just typical teenagers smoking weed for the first time, doing whatever the fuck we could with it. I remember there was a time we were trying to see how many grams we could fit into a single joint, and we'd been working our way up, and a load of us pitched in together and bought an entire ounce and made a massive bloody blunt. Wasted an entire ounce in just one big blunt. Things like that. It's great fun. And 2 years did go by pretty fucking quick, just basically doing this, picking up, smoking weed, hanging out, going back to work. I was working at a medical company, just packing vaginal probes and anal probes into boxes by the absolute hundreds. And then just hanging out in the evening, smoking weed down by the lakes or down at the park. But after about 2 years of this, or at some point during this 2 years, I started to get pretty bored of things. I always get bored of whatever I'm doing, I just do. So I grew bored, and I decided that actually, the perfect thing for me to do at this point in my life was to go to university. Not because I had any real interest in studying anything, although I did pick animation as my degree, as I did have quite a passion for drawing at the time. But in reality, I was just thinking about spending 3 years partying, smoking it up, drinking it up, hanging out, meeting new chicks, and just getting out of my small town, moving to London, doing something crazy. And so off the back of that, that's where I decided to move. I decided that I was going to apply to universities in London, and I got accepted into my first choice. Crazy, absolutely mental. And so I was off, going to do an animation degree in London. So that September, me and my dad packed up everything I owned pretty much into his car, and we travelled off to the big city. I spent my first 3 days in the halls, sat in my room by myself, smoking weed, eating microwave pizza, and watching anime and reading manga. Reality hit me like a fucking ton of bricks. I hadn't thought through any of this. I was so socially awkward. I didn't know how to make friends. I didn't know how to meet people. I did not even know how to start to socialise. Even after travelling 3 months, I was still fucking clueless about all of that. And besides, I've just spent another year now, just in my hometown, hanging out with my old best friends, just in our back gardens. And I didn't know how to be a normal person. And so I just hid. And I just sunk into this awful fucking depression, because nothing was the way I wanted it to be, nothing was the way I expected it to be. I expected it all to be so easy for some reason, and it wasn't. And it ruined me. So for that first term, I didn't really make any friends. I mostly just sat in my room, picking up weed, smoking weed, watching anime, just feeling sorry for myself. And that Christmas when I went back home, things changed very dramatically in my life. A family GP suggested that he thought I might be bipolar, and put me in touch with a specialist at the Priory. And so I started attending the Priory and having private psychiatry sessions there. Over the course of that Christmas, I was prescribed 4 or 5 different antidepressants and sleeping pills and all sorts of things to just try and normalise me, try and stabilise me, try and make me more able to cope with life. None of them worked. I had fairly severe and adverse reactions to a lot of them, really upsetting and at times horrific side effects. So none of them worked, and I headed back to university with a bag full of prescription pills and a worse outlook on life than I'd ever had before. Now by this point I had formed one friendship with a guy on my course who had bonded over Pokemon and old school anime like Cowboy Bebop and Akira. It turned out he was a stoner too, so we started hanging out a lot more, watching Adventure Time, battling it out on Pokemon Black and White I think at the time, smoking shitloads of weed, having bongs in the morning together before going off to lectures, things like that. Now his parents, they were loaded. I mean, old world kind of money, real loaded. And during his time at boarding school, this friend of mine, he developed himself a little bit of a coke habit, as well as trying LSD, mushrooms, and starting his life of smoking cannabis. All of this at the sweet tender age of 16 at one of the most exclusive private boarding schools in the UK. And the guy was smart. He was smart and stupid. He even tried making crack cocaine for himself one day. He was just fascinated with exploring these sorts of things, and he himself was incredibly depressed. But he was smart. I mean, he was really fucking smart. He was talented, artistically creative, scientifically minded. Anything he turned his attention to was just, he could do it better than anything else he'd ever seen. Create things with his hands, make works of jewellery, and he was handsome, he was a good looking guy. To say I had a weird little obsession with him wouldn't be wrong, I guess. Part of me kind of loved him, and that took me years to sort of come to terms with. Anyway, that's by the by. The problem with him being really fucking smart is he was convinced of his own brilliance, convinced that he was a genius, and this led to him making some really fucking stupid decisions. So when he found out what meds I'd been prescribed, he started researching them and finding out the possible dangers and the possible positives of them. And during this research he found out about how they could be taken recreationally and let you go on incredible, mind-bending, powerful trips filled with phenomenal OEDs and CVs, hallucinations the likes of which you've never seen. So we started trying them. 15 fluoxetine one day, 5 clonazepam another day, 8 nifazepine in one go. Whatever the fuck, we didn't care. And when the stash began to run low, I went back to my GP, back in my hometown, told them I needed more pills, wanted to try something else, and we'd work our way through those. And after just a month, we abused our way through maybe 4 or 5 different prescriptions. We were there walking around London, hugging glowing trees and stepping in front of buses without a literal shit given for our fucking lives. We act like absolute cunts, and I hate it. And so after a month, the stash had run out, and we thought, well, we've tried this. The only logical conclusion now would be to try something like MDMA. I mean, he tried it before, he said it was great fun, so I should try it. And so I did. 3 hours later, that same day, I picked up my first gram of MDMA. I racked it up into 12 perfect tiny little origami squares. Potent little bombs ready to take me to places I'd never seen before. I really enjoyed MDMA. I'd never felt that way. Weed had let me sleep, sure. But this was something else. This made me happy. This made me want to share secrets. This filled me with energy and just made me want to share and feel love and feel the warmth of somebody else's embrace and just talk and talk and talk and create and draw and perform and just pull out of thin air these works of absolute art. Sharing these deep-held secrets and letting each other cleanse each other of our metaphorical sins in a way that we've just never felt before. On that first taking of MDMA, I felt the closest thing I've ever experienced to a true moment of spiritual or religious ecstasy. Pure, unbridled ecstasy. More powerful, more true, and more potent than any orgasm. Over the course of that trip, I knew that things weren't ever going to be the same again. That I was never going to not let myself feel that joy again. I had been so fucking sad when I finally didn't feel that way. And I had it, and I was going to keep hold of it. So on that first time usage, as I started to feel the buzz run low, I took another bomb. And I took another bomb. And I kept going, and 3 days straight I stayed up, rolling my fucking tits off, feeling this feeling I'd never felt before. And then I slept, and I woke up after maybe, 24 hours of sleeping. I woke up, ate a shitty microwave pizza, maybe some cereal. I contacted the dealer, I went down the road, got 40 quid out, and got another gram. And I spent maybe a month just taking MDMA, sleeping and eating, taking some more MDMA. I could have happily spent the rest of the rest of my life, following this routine the way I felt back then. After a couple of weeks, things obviously began to change. We were following a very downward spiral. We decided the next step would be to try something like LSD. So to prepare ourselves for that, we decided to get some salvia. I think it was 80x strength. And I can safely say over the course of over 13 salvia trips, I have never had a good one. They have all been absolutely fucking miserable. And at some point I'll make a video talking about the worst one of them all, because it was just fucking hell. Like, just literally thinking about it is horrible for me. If my palms all sweaty, and I'll talk about it at some point. So after trying shitloads of salvia, trying salvia on weed, trying salvia on MDMA, trying salvia on whatever leftover pharmaceuticals I could find lying about, so yeah, we realised it was time to get some proper LSD. So my friend, he used one of his connections from his old school, and he acquired us 2 ounces of cannabis, a gram of MDMA, and 5 tabs of LSD.